Start the clock.
This is Valley View News.
Bad economic times for some people to give up their pets. The Super Bowl puts Jennifer Hudson back in the spotlight. And the Chinese New Year brings festivities to Los Angeles.
Good evening and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Mazen Hafez.
And I'm Kristen Price.
Consumer spending has fallen for a record 6 months in a row. It fell 1% in December. Consumer spending accounts for 70% of all economic activity. Meanwhile, personal income has also fallen for the third month in a row. Kristen Price has more on how these trends are affecting retail chains.
Circuit City has filed for bankruptcy and is liquidating its inventory. Another store affected by the declining economy is Linens and Things. The Northridge location recently closed its doors. The large, once very busy store is now just an empty shell. And a number of other retail outlets are affected by the economy. Macy's announced its plan to close 11 stores. Employees at Bloomingdale's are reporting layoffs. Home Depot plans on cutting 7,000 jobs and closing 6 design and decor stores in Southern California. Director of the San Fernando Valley Research Center, William Roberts, says the economy will get better.
I think we should see it bottoming out by summer. I don't think we're on the way up yet, but I think we're declining at a slower rate.
Store closing sales may be one reason shoppers are heading to the mall, but retail sales are still plunging and are at their lowest since the 1930s. The Conference Board's Index of Consumer Confidence has dropped to a historic low in January of 37.7. In Northridge, I'm Kristen Price for Valley View News. The California State University system is cutting its budget by $66 million, and those cuts could increase due to the economic downturn in the state. The cuts will reduce the number of students being accepted to the state universities, including Cal State Northridge. Claudia Carrasco has the story.
The California budget is beginning to affect students all around. Higher education institutions such as the California State Universities have started a plan that will limit the number of students being accepted in the fall of '09.
We reduce the time period when you can apply, and then we modify the admissions structure. It's called impaction. And impaction was determined to be the appropriate decision for all campuses in the CSU concerning the admission of first-time freshmen next year.
About 45,000 to 50,000 freshmen are admitted to the universities each year. The new system is expected to reduce those numbers by at least 10% in first-year admissions, something that's causing distress among incoming freshmen.
The main impact I see so far is anxiety on the part of the students. They're hearing about the news daily about the economic crisis, and they come and ask me, is there still going to be financial aid? Are we still going to be able to get into college? So my main job right now is to encourage them, because so far I don't have any reason to think that there will be a big change.
However uncertain the situation is, advisors say it may take a while for certain core programs to be affected.
Well, we hope that whatever happens with the grant programs won't hurt the students, because we should be able to make up the difference with some other grants. But again, the proposed cuts in the Cal Grant program are just that right now. They're proposed, but it's a long process before the budget is passed and those questions are settled.
As the budget crisis worsens, students planning to attend a California State University may just have to rethink their choices due to the Cal State's financially driven enrollment issues. Reporting from CSUN, Claudia Carrasco, Valley View News.
Governor Schwarzenegger is taking action to deal with the state's budget crisis. He is forcing state employees and supervisors to work 2 fewer days a month without pay. Schwarzenegger also proposes cutting the school year by 5 days, potentially saving the state $1.1 billion. He also says the state will not be mailing out tax refunds and ordered state agencies to cut payroll by 10%, which will likely result in layoffs.
Construction statewide is at a halt. Valley View News reporter Mazen Hafez has an up-close look at how Cal State Northridge is dealing with the budget cuts.
This is CSUN's ghost town. The tractors aren't trailing and the workers aren't working. That's because California issued a freeze on all statewide construction for at least 90 days. The building is for a $125 million performing arts center. PAC Director Galia Brown says they have a plan on how to inform donors the art center will be built.
We are keeping communication open. We sent letters to all of our donors. We sent emails to all of our lead volunteers, the CSUN Foundation Board.
Another state-funded project is for a new science building, but there are tractors trailing and workers working. That's because the university president is asking for an exception to the freeze, and as she waits a response, the construction continues. A much-needed exception, says Science Department Associate Chair Paul Wilson.
We'd already scheduled classes for it, and we don't know actually how to reverse schedule.
The science building is about 90% complete. The Performing Arts Center, 25%, but it is still aiming for an October 2010 unveiling. As for the 150 people temporarily out of work,
it's a very complicated project, so we really want to keep, for lack of a better term, the brain trust together, the sort of the leadership and the various subcontractors, the foremen and the superintendents that really know that job. Will we get them all back? I think the longer the suspension goes on, the more of them that you would lose to other jobs.
One of the buildings that was completed just before the chancellor issued his freeze on state bonds is this parking structure that I'm currently in. It is supposed to house up to 1,400 CSUN students and faculty. In Northridge, Mazen Hafez, Valley View News. The housing crisis has now spread to the wealthier west side of Los Angeles. Homes in Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, and other high-end neighborhoods have lost about 30% of their value in the last few months. Real estate agents attribute the falling prices to corrections in the market. Houses now remain on the market longer and fewer homes are being sold. Economists blame the current crisis on prices that they say rose above what average incomes could afford.
Domestic animals may be the most helpless victims of today's economy. Their futures are uncertain and most end up at shelters. Gianna Gregorio has the report.
Dogs at the shelter are unhappy because their owners have abandoned them. Animal shelters are quickly filling up due to a rise in the amount of owners giving up their pets. Los Angeles County Animal Control says that people simply cannot afford to keep them.
There has been a big increase where dogs are coming in due to foreclosure. They'll come here for us to house them and adopt them out because they want the best for the animal.
At the Castaic Animal Shelter, almost all the cats and dogs were turned in by their owners.
Cage after cage, these dogs share the same story. They once had a family who loved them and cared for them, but now they sit alone, waiting for someone to come and take them home.
The shelter asks few questions when owners surrender their pets, making the process less painful. However, there is hope for many of the animals at the site.
We're okay right now due to the fact that we have a great adoption turnout rate, and we have a lot of people that come and help. So the word gets out when there's a new animal that comes in. Our volunteers send out the word, and people come in and adopt.
Anyone interested in adopting a pet, please visit www.animalcare.lacounty.gov and view pictures of dogs and cats that are available for adoption. In Castaic, I'm Gianna Gregorio for Valley View News.
The LA Times reports that the family of octuplets born in Bellflower has a history of financial problems. The problems include bankruptcy, tax liens, and a foreclosure. The 33-year-old Whittier woman who has chosen not to be identified gave birth at Kaiser Permanente. Her mother says she already has 6 young children. She lives with her parents in a 1,500-square-foot home in Whittier. The woman's father is said to support the family. He makes $100,000 annually.
Coming up, President Obama signs legislation easing restrictions on discrimination lawsuits.
Also ahead, BJ gives us highlights on the Super Bowl and the latest on our very own Matadors.